Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining today's stream. Welcome, Hunter, Raphael, Trading Desk, Sean. Thank you guys so much for joining in on today's stream. We're set to have a great week. Thanks for joining, Vicky. Tom has SPCE pulled up. Virgin Galactic had a pretty successful flight overall. We could see SPCE rocketed up when pre-market first opened, but now they're consolidating a little bit. And Tom, they're actually testing this $50 support pretty hard.
Yeah, they are. It's actually worrying me right now. I was hoping more towards open we would see another buy back up, but this is definitely not looking good. The selling pressure is coming into SPCE, and we're almost to that closing price of Friday down there at 49.25, the bottom of this candle. And man, we're 2 minutes away from open, and definitely not looking good right now for SPCE. That catalyst that happened was pretty good, and I think a lot of people were expecting this one to go up, but I think that we're just going to have to wait to see what happens at open, and hopefully we see more green momentum come into this because the flight was successful and Elon Musk even bought a ticket. So I don't know why this stock is not going up right now, but we see this happen sometimes with these catalysts, and sometimes people say to sell the news, and it looks like that might be the case, but we're still not below that closing price of Friday yet.
Yeah, sometimes crazy things happen in the market. I bet some people will say that like it was already priced in, but welcome Jorge, Russ, Roberto, Keisha, Mike, Alex. Thank you guys so much for joining. Tom, a couple stocks I really have my eyes on for this week. The first one is Airbnb. This one's been struggling for so long to break above like the 150 to like $157 area. And they had an amazing day on Friday, and they definitely have momentum. So I think that there's definitely potential with this one. Another one I was looking at was Penn, Penn. I feel like that one looks pretty good.
Yeah, Penn does look pretty solid, and especially with like everything going on with the UFC and stuff this weekend and the NBA finals, that might help some of these gaming stocks like Penn and DraftKings. We'll just have to see. It's not always a good catalyst that helps them, but it could definitely work out. And here we go. The market's open. The SPY looks like it is green initially here so far. We just opened the QQQ. It's just kind of going flat to slightly red here. Just keep in mind it's only a couple seconds in right now. SPCE is actually catching some green at open, which is nice. So hopefully they can come back up. And man, it looks like there is some good volume coming into SPCE. But how about some of these big tech stocks like Apple and Microsoft? I know they were running up in pre-market. It looks like Apple's actually selling off here at open. Microsoft is looking like it's kind of moving slowly at open as well. So I know a lot of stocks seem like they were popping up in pre-market, and now they seem like they're kind of pulling back a little bit initially at open. We have the SPY kind of going red too.
Good stuff. So we have Vang saying thoughts on snow. So let's check it out. SNOW. I know it had an amazing week last week. It's pulling back a little bit right now. Looks like there are a lot of sellers coming in at 270. I'm just looking at a couple different resistance levels right now. Yeah, 270 looks pretty tough. Let me just get a couple more levels pulled up. There is support right at 264, and if it falls below 264, the next major support I see is 260, but it's definitely not looking the best right now.
Yeah, and Mike, those SPCE calls, by the way, those are getting crushed right now, man. My calls from Friday, the IV, look at the IV crush that just happened at open on SPCE as it starts to come down. This is definitely not looking good. Like you said, snow is kind of coming down as well. And overall, it's just at open, we're seeing a lot of selling pressure out of a lot of stocks, not just SPCE alone, but man, it's just definitely not the best open to start the week.
Yeah, looks pretty brutal. I think that IV on SPCE tells a lot. It just shows that the options prices are getting smacked. We have Alex saying thoughts on CHWY and coin. So I actually like these plays. Let's check them out. CHWY. It had an amazing week last week. It's popping up right now. There's a ton of momentum. It's pretty good for like day trading or scalping. The momentum's definitely there. What do you think?
Yeah, this daily chart actually looks really solid on Chewy. I love this company as well. They're kind of like a pet service. They can send like dog food to people's doors and stuff. I think it'll be great for the future. Everybody seems like they have dogs and stuff. So it's a pretty good service. And man, they are popping, and it looks like they're starting to break out here. They're moving up above some of these SMAs. The 200 is a pretty key one that they're sitting right on, just bounced off of, as well as the 100. So I think they're looking good on technicals. they are getting to some resistance here right around this $90 area. So I'd be a little careful. You could also say like 87.50 or 88 poses as one as well. But either way, the areas it's coming up to are resistance levels. But hopefully we can keep this good momentum that we have today, because this open is looking pretty good for Chewy so far.
And then the next one was Coin, COIN. This was a recent DPO that has been doing pretty bad lately. A lot of the recent like IPOs have just like had such crazy run-ups before they even IPO'd, and one of those was actually Airbnb. I don't know if you remember that one, Tom, but the IPO came in almost almost like $100 more than originally anticipated. It was something like that. But either way, I'm really looking at Coin. I like the setup, and it's trending in the right direction, at least in the short term.
Yeah, and they were saying that that price was supposed to, DPO or IPO or however they came onto the market right there around 250. And we can see that 250 seems to be a pretty solid level, actually. Like, it poses a good support back here, and it poses a solid resistance before. So, and we're sitting honestly right on it. So as long as we can, I think, stay above this 250 level, I think Coin might be a pretty good move back to the upside also. And at the same time, if a lot of people have like let's say the market starts falling down, like Apple, Microsoft, SPY, QQQ, I think a lot of people might start to go back into like Bitcoin, and I think that'll really help Coin kind of boost itself back up also.
Awesome. Then we have Jorge saying CRWD, DDOG, and NET are popping. Tom, I know you talked about these cybersecurity plays in last night's video.
Yeah, I did. They're actually going to have a meeting between Joe Biden and Angela Merkel this week. They're going to be discussing Afghanistan, cybersecurity, and I think oil. But in the end here, cybersecurity is going to be one of the biggest things that they talk about. And I looked it up, and CRWD and NET seem to be some pretty good cybersecurity stocks, and DDOG, of course. So I really like to see these moves, and CRWD is right at this 270 high. And if they break above this, I think we might see a pretty good move. And this 270 is pretty defined. So it's a pretty good day trading level. I think you could get a very quick scalp on this if it passes above that, and have a pretty good day, or a pretty good trade, I should say.
Good stuff. And then DDOG and NET, they move relatively similar. So I guess you could follow the same analysis there. Then we have Vang saying Amazon RIP. How's it looking?
Yeah, not looking good today. It opened. It's just failing to pass above that high of last Thursday at like 37.59.99. Amazon was looking pretty hot last week, but right now it opened. They are seeing some red, but I will say that the red is not terrible right now. I get that it is going down at open, but they're still up above a lot of key levels. And this doesn't necessarily, I don't think, indicate that Amazon's going to be crashing and burning to the downside anytime soon. It just kind of seems like a little bit of an intraday pullback to me. I think that we might pass above this 37.60 level maybe over the next couple of days, especially if tech gets back up. But it just depends, I think, how the overall market and tech ends up going. But I see that this 37.60 level being a huge resistance. So you might be able to play to the downside off of that. But at open today, definitely not looking good on the 1 minute chart. But just keep in mind that this move is a very small move. And generally throughout the day, we'll see much more movement than we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and we have Jorge saying SPCE is halted, Tom. It's not moving at all. Looks like a volatility halt.
Wow. Yeah, I actually cut my my little call position that I tried to trade over the weekend, and man, I cut it at around $49, and I know that it ended up going down in value after I cut it like another like 60-70%. So definitely not good. This is definitely not good for SPCE here. I feel a little bad for anyone who held a lot of calls over the weekend. That's for sure. If you held a little gamble, I don't think it was too bad of a play, high risk, high reward. But for anyone who was going all in on this is definitely not good to see. Pre-market was looking pretty solid, but this is just terrible to look at. I know that Richard Branson and, a lot of them, I'm sure they're even going to be upset by this one, but this is definitely not a good move. And I can't wait to see the news on this one. Like, I wonder why exactly it's going down. Like, do you think like institutions are selling out shares? Do you think people are selling out shares, or what's going on, Mike? Like what are your thoughts on it?
So I actually just saw the news. Virgin Galactic Holdings files for $500 million of an offering for the stock. So basically,
Oh no.
yeah, looks like they did an offering, which honestly, it's smart for the company, but for these this short-term movement, it's horrible.
Yeah, that's definitely not good, Mike. I mean, we see companies do this a lot. Very smart, actually, for SPCE to do that. I'm glad that they're doing that. For shareholders who have it at lower prices, that's going to be really good news for you guys. But for anyone who held the calls and stuff, definitely not good news. And of course, they had to do that. That was just a bad kick there, I think, for all the retail traders. But in the end, it's just one of those situations where sometimes with this crazy news and stuff, this is what ends up happening. And it's just the risk that you take sometimes whenever you're trying to, play through like little events and stuff like this. And this is why, like, I know, Mike, this is why you don't play events like this, is because obviously like the implied volatility will just skyrocketing into this event. And, just like we see with earnings and a lot of these risky situations, it just ended up tanking on.
For sure. So then we have W saying what halted. So SPCE halted, but then he said halts are only positive, right? So no, there can be halts to the upside or the downside. Like we saw a lot back in March of 2020. There were like a lot of halts, a lot of circuit breakers, a lot of things like that. So keep that in mind. And sometimes halts can have a good effect for the stock, but a lot of times they don't. So yeah, I mean, it's not looking good for SPCE right now. What I really wanted to play last week, Tom, because I know you mentioned like when I play Catalyst like this, like most of the time I don't, but NEGG, I really wanted to play a call credit spread on that one last week, but the spreads were so wide and I couldn't get filled. And, it would have played out amazing, but, I'm glad I didn't just rush in and panic in. But that was one play I was looking at, and it ended up pulling back, which was good.
Yeah, and the good thing is like you went really smartly in there, like getting a call credit spread, and that's a really smart way to go with it. It wasn't like naked puts or anything like that. And you like you said, even though it would have worked out, like the naked puts would have been extremely, extremely risky. And it's just smarter to do like call credits and stuff, especially on stocks like this that have humongous moves to the upside, and you almost know that they're going to come back down.
For sure. With the next comment, let's see. We have Andrew saying AVGO is booming. How's it looking?
Yeah, really good actually today. Breaking above some of these resistance levels. It actually had a key level here on the daily chart, right around like 480, you could say 478. Let's go to the 15-minute, see how it's looking today at open. Yeah, really popping up above that like 480 level. That was a pretty good resistance. And I think we could see more movement today, but overall, so far, it's kind of coming back down. I will say it might be hard to trade this one, but I would definitely look at it to the upside. I like how it started to break out there on the daily. And I think we might start to see a decent move up above some of these resistances. But at the same time, even though we just broke the 480 resistance, we're heading right up to another key one at around 489, 490. So just watch out. We're about 8 points away and the stock is $482. So, an 8-point move isn't the biggest for a stock like this.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining. It would really, really help us out if you could hit that like button. It takes like 2 seconds and it helps Tom and I so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you aren't already in the Stocked Up Discord, come join. It's completely free. The link for that is in the description on the main channel. I'll throw it in the this channel's description later today, but definitely come join the Discord. It's completely free. And with the next comment, we have Corbin asking about Boeing. So I know this one looks pretty decent for like maybe like a couple week or a couple month swing. Right now it's not looking the best, but I definitely have my eyes on it for like a longer term swing.
Yeah, and with it kind of like on the daily chart consolidating down as much as it has, I'm definitely eyeing it up. There's a pretty big support around 220 on Boeing, and I like it quite a bit. I think I talked about it in yesterday's video just a little bit, but today at open, we are seeing some red movement to the downside. On the daily, we are kind of bouncing off of this 100 SMA and kind of like testing that and then moving slightly down. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some more red this week, possibly out of Boeing, but I'm definitely eyeing it up for shares and possibly selling puts on over the next month or two. And I think Boeing will definitely be one of those stocks that can recover up over the next couple of years. And what I like to see is that Boeing has these moves where they fly up and then they just kind of consolidate for a few months, and then fly up and consolidate, fly up and consolidate. And right now they're just kind of in that consolidating area. And I think that they'll eventually start to break out. And I like how their EPS is getting a little better also. And they had some good news come out of China last week, and it just seems like Boeing might start to come back up over the next like year or two for sure.
All right, with the next comment, we have Trading Desk asking about PayPal. PYPL, let's take a look at it. It is doing pretty good in general. It's at a huge resistance right now, though. That $300 level, I know technically it broke out, but it's definitely consolidating right now. Really, I don't know, Tom. I'm pretty worried about this resistance right at 300. The market's looking a little bit rough right now, too.
Yeah, for sure. And there's definitely a big resistance right around here. PayPal on the 1 minute is kind of moving very choppy today, up and down, kind of coming back up right now. Looks like it bounced right off of 300. And like you said, if these tech stocks continue to go down, it might drag PayPal down below that. And if it does end up breaking that, I could see it possibly coming down to this solid level down here around 296. I think that would be a pretty good bottom today. Yeah, maybe also at like 297, but man, that's definitely a good support intraday right around that $300 area. That was a good call.
All right. With the next comment, let's see. We have Sean saying Tesla on the daily is on the move. Let's check it out. Tesla, TSLA. I know it's been lagging behind, Tom. How's it looking?
Yeah, it's actually looking pretty decent today. I mean, it's really popping up today, which is pretty good, up 2.55%. I know that last week on Friday, it was kind of lagging behind some other stocks, and I'm glad to see it moving up this morning. This is a pretty solid move, and looks pretty solid, actually. It's following some good trend lines on the daily chart. I like how it's popping up back up above the 100 SMA, and we're just seeing decent movement out of it. And I think that this might be more of the time where Tesla is going to start going up now again. And, you know, that truck's going to be coming out like at the beginning of next year or the later end of this year. And I just think that a lot of people are definitely going to be looking at Tesla. It even had a solid double bottom on the daily around 550. So I really like it overall. And I would think that anyone who was short it would have honestly exited by now, unless they just know some crazy position or they know something weird's going on. But I would say Tesla looks pretty solid. And we even had Yellen coming out saying that, you know, banks should be supporting more of EV stocks and stuff like that rather than fossil fuel companies. So it just seems like overall good things are coming out for Tesla. And I think that over the next few years, we'll see even more.
Yeah, so I think it looks pretty good. You know, it's really been lagging behind a lot of other tech stocks. Like you look at Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Facebook, basically any other solid tech stock, and it's at all-time highs, and Tesla is still lagging behind. So I think it looks good. So yeah, I like it overall. With the next comment we have, let's see. Next comment we have ABC saying SPCE basically performed a planned emergency landing to land its plane look risky. All right, well, let's check out SPCE, Tom. How's it looking?
Yeah, I mean, let's check it out again. Definitely looking bad intraday, down to 44 now at this point. After that halt, I think it did end up causing some green in the stock, but it looks like right now we're seeing some more downwards movement, and definitely not good in the short term. Anytime they have those offerings and stuff, it definitely kills those stocks. So definitely be careful with this one. And I honestly I wouldn't be picking it up down here at all or anything like that, especially with the news, with the offerings and everything. And the IV is just getting killed. So it's just not a good time right now for SPCE. And like we say, you know, those offerings are going to be good for the long run. So maybe in like a month or two after SPCE falls a little bit, maybe heading up into like Elon Musk flight with them because he bought a ticket. So who knows? Maybe heading back up into that, we'll see more movement. But, you know, maybe next time I would recommend to a lot of people to try to play it running up into the event rather than, you know, holding through it or something. And we said that a lot last week that, you know, like on Thursday, like how you said, Mike, it was almost like it was priced in on Thursday. If we go look at like the 5-day, 15-minute, you can see on Thursday, we had that huge pop to the upside in anticipation of it. And then on Friday, we just kind of consolidated down. So it seemed like, you know, people really bought it up on Thursday and kind of priced that in.
True that. Tom, check out UPST. I know I picked this one up on Friday for the premium group, and it's looking pretty good. It's up around 6.5% right now, which is a pretty big day. IV is relatively low, but it's trending up. I think it's trending in the right direction for sure. There's a ton of great momentum, and they even got upgraded by Goldman.
Yeah, they did. Upstart looks very solid today. like you said, that upgrade is going to really help them. A 6% day is definitely good. I love that move off the 100 SMA here on the daily, even though we don't have too much info because it's not that old of a stock yet. But I will say it bounced off of that very nicely. Looks solid on the daily. And I love this breakout today up above 130. That looked really solid earlier on. We are seeing a little bit of a pullback now, but man, that move early was really solid.
All right. With the next comment, we have Head saying, what do you think of BBIG for a swing trade? They are shorted 20.57% and they're moving. So BBIG, I mean, it's trending in the right direction for sure. It doesn't look bad. The only thing is I don't really trade penny stocks. And then the other thing is the implied volatility is 177%, which I guess is mid-range for this company. But it's not bad. It's just not for me because I don't trade penny stocks. And I definitely wouldn't be swinging it with this type of implied volatility.
Yeah, for sure. But I will say though, with this type of setup with a penny stock, I'll say, I don't trade penny stocks either, but the setup does look pretty decent, at least on the daily chart. Like I would say, if anything, like I would try to do shares or something on this if I were you. But honestly, like on the 5-day, 15-minute, like I said, I think that the setup looks pretty decent for a move to continue back to the upside. But like Mike said, it's going to be very, very risky. And it's like the options are going to be totally different than options like on Facebook or AMD or something like that. So I would honestly look for it more of like a quick scalp with like some shares or something like that, especially with the fact that it moves like 14% within just, ever since open today or since Friday's close.
For sure. Did you see Pfizer today? They're looking pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard that they were coming out with a vaccine possibly for that Delta variant, which is really interesting. And on the 1-year daily, they're looking really solid. Actually, they had a huge support around like 38, you could say like $39, maybe 40. 40, they're just actually passing above that resistance right now. So looks really solid there. And man, just this daily on Pfizer looks really good, I'd say. I know that mRNA was running up last week also, but Pfizer is looking really hot. And I wonder if that Delta variant like vaccine news has them kind of running.
True that. With the next comment, we have Corbin saying, how does Apple look to you? So I'm not sure if you guys got a chance to see the couple videos I made over the weekend, but in my opinion, a lot of tech stocks are in a setup right now where, of course, they can continue up. But in my opinion, it is not worth the risk to play them. You look at stocks like Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, a bunch of top tech stocks, and they're in a position where at this point they've been running up for like a month and a half now. Nvidia has it split in like almost a week. And the last time when Apple and Tesla split, they kind of tanked the entire market. So that does not mean Nvidia is going to have the same exact setup. But just looking at patterns, like I just feel like it's already too late. Of course, they can continue up, but in my opinion, it's not worth the risk.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody always wants to buy at highs, but people weren't as bullish down here whenever Apple was hitting around that 124, 125 support. It was actually really solid of a dip buy whenever it was consolidating down here. The past couple of times it did that, and that would have been the time to start to really get into those Apple calls. But yeah, I mean, right now it's just a little bit overextended, and even though like we hit a new high today, we pulled right back, and we're seeing a lot of red now at open. So it doesn't mean that it's always going to continue. And I would definitely be very, very careful with these tech stocks. Like Mike said, we're starting to get pretty big, pretty overextended on a lot of them, especially like he said, Amazon, Nvidia. And it's almost, I'm not going to say like we're in like bubble territory here, but it seems like tech is getting pretty overextended. And I know like in the early 2000s, we had like a dot-com bubble, like where stuff crashed. And I'm not saying it's going to be like that at all, but whenever things get pretty overextended, they generally end up coming down quite a bit.
For sure. With the next comment, we have Matthew saying $850 plus NVIDIA for this week. I mean, I hope it pops up for you if you're holding it, but I don't know. I think it's going to be really, really tough for that. They have that split pretty soon. Like I said, if you're in it, I hope it pops up, but it's looking pretty rough in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. And today it was looking decent at open, but now it's kind of coming back, and I would definitely be a little careful with it for sure. I will say it's looking pretty good off of this 790 support if we can stay above that. But if we break that or break 780, 690, I think that we'll see NVIDIA start to really tank off.
Awesome. And then we have Head saying thoughts on Disney. I love Disney right now. Yeah, I love them. They're more of like a longer term play. They're not like for this week or next week, but I really like them over the next couple months. So yeah, I think they look pretty solid, and especially once we start to see a rotation, there's definitely potential for Disney to be a part of that new group of the market. You can say it's impossible to predict that. It's just it's just something you'll notice once we start to see the rotation. But overall, I love it.
Yeah, me too. I think that Disney looks solid and they have Disney Plus. And, keep in mind that like if anything's going bad for Disney, all it takes for them is just a new successful show or like a new season of The Mandalorian or something weird, like anything could happen for them. Some new like park numbers come out. Like they have a lot of different things that go on for them. And I think they're a solid company for the long run. It doesn't mean that they're going to fly up right now, but I think for like the next year or two, definitely a solid company. And I think that stuff they did with Disney Plus was one of the smartest things I think I've seen a company innovate and kind of get into, especially considering, that they're Disney. Like, I don't think anybody really expected them to get their own streaming service, but it makes a lot of sense because they have so much of their own content.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Then we have Corbin saying, how do you feel about GLD calls? So I'm not totally against this one. I just have to do a lot more research when it comes to it. My first thoughts is that there's just better setups out there like Disney, UPST, GE, and even just some other other plays like that. Maybe even Airbnb or Coin. I just feel like the setups are better. Now that does not mean the GLD setup's bad. It's just I would have to do a lot more research with it, and the especially like with the way the dollar and bonds are moving. So for right now, I'm just neutral.
Yeah, like you said, the dollar and the bonds are going to have a huge impact on that. Keep in mind, like what the Fed does is like every time the Fed talks and they talk about adjusting rates or they talk about anything like that, that really affects gold and even other things affect gold. Like China holds a ton of gold. I know that they're a huge player in the gold market, so a lot of stuff goes on regarding gold. So just keep in mind, it's a very hard thing to trade, a hard thing to guess. In the longer run, though, gold always generally goes up. Like if you buy physical gold and you hold it for 10 years, the chances of that being positive are very, very high. But keep in mind, if you're trying to trade like swing some options or something like that, I think if you do it, you buy like leaps, that could be a good way to go. But if you're trying to do it in the short term, it can go either way right now, especially considering like with Powell and different stuff like the FOMCs and the inflation, like a lot of weird stuff's going on regarding the gold market and the dollar. So just you have to definitely do your research, and there's so many factors affecting it.
All right, and then we have Vicky asking about Z and Boeing. So let's check out Z. It looks all right. I liked it like a couple weeks ago, but now I'm just more neutral on it. So yeah, I don't really have any like levels or anything like that.
Yeah, it looks like it actually hit right off that 200 SMA up there at that upper level. There was also a very solid resistance right there at that 125. So there was probably a big wall right there, and it just hit that, failed to break out, and we're just kind of consolidating right now. And Mike, I think that this stock will be pretty good for the next couple of years, don't you? Even though it's going down in the short term.
Yeah, I would definitely think so. I'm just like for the short term, I'm just relatively neutral.
Yeah, me too. And it's one of those. I think Zillow, they actually are in the housing market, aren't they?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So they're in the housing market. Lots of stuff's going on there. So keep in mind that that's going to play a big factor on Zillow also.
Yeah, and then the next one was, let's see, the next one was Boeing. So, yeah, I like it for the long term. It might take some time for this one to move. They're kind of a slow mover. The IV is only at like 38%.
Yeah, it is. And I would say like I think leaps on this is the way to go. I honestly think shares is the best way to play Boeing, especially if it starts to fall down. Selling puts and then getting shares or something like that. If you could get it around $200, I think that would be amazing. Like I said, that upper resistance is around, or that lower support, I should say, is around 220. But like if you're trying to sell puts, I would target maybe 220 if you're trying to do it this week, and then if we end up falling down, maybe do 200 after that. But I that's the way I would play it. I don't think I would try to like swing some calls for it this week or anything, because Boeing definitely has some of those weeks where it just continues to sell off, and right now it's below some of these SMAs and below a lot of these resistance levels that it could go down off of still.
All right, and then we have Bang saying, have you seen STMP options go up 1,000,000%. So I did see that the other week. What was it? Yeah, it was Friday actually. So they actually got acquired, or yeah, they got acquired for a huge premium, and those options literally exploded. At this point, there's not really any potential for a move. Basically, we're gonna see this thing trade sideways for like the next couple weeks, or even the next couple months. That's how these like acquisition plays normally work. It's an all cash deal, $6.6 billion, and yeah, it was a crazy run up. And I actually saw some people on Wall Street bets, like they turned like $90, and I don't even know how much. It was like a stupid amount of money though.
Yeah, did I hear you right? Did I hear 1,000,000%?
Yeah, that's what he said. I mean, Tom, these things exploded.
Yeah, this is crazy. I mean, look at the stock. 190, it was around 190 at the opening on Friday and or on Thursday, and then it opened on Friday. They opened around 321. I mean, that is insane. Man, I'm not surprised that the options went up that much, but that's nuts. Like you said, someone what they do, they turn 90 into like an insane amount of money like that. That's really crazy actually. And I mean, that's awesome. I mean, STMP definitely had a big move. I'm glad to see some people actually, benefited from that rather than just, some of the institutions and stuff. I'll definitely have to look into that. That's pretty interesting.
All right, so I found the post. Some guy on Wall Street Bets turned $90 into 24,000 in one day with STMP. That's crazy.
Wow.
Seriously, one day, Tom, $90 into 24 grand.
Man, that I've heard of that with like AMD or I should say GME and stuff, but not in one day. I mean that is just
Yeah.
absolutely insane. $90 into 24 grand. That's he almost got over the PDT rule right there.
Close, close. I mean, I'm curious, like, why he just randomly bought STMP options. Like what made him buy an STMP call randomly on that day? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what was it like weeklies or something?
Uh, it's hard to tell from the post. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I
Yeah,
can't
but
tell.
I'm assuming it was because that was a big rise. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, what made him buy that? That's definitely a strange thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, we have Trading Desk saying, "How we looking on MU? What are you thinking?"
Yeah, MU actually pulling down a little bit, but coming back right now, looking pretty solid. On the 1 minute, came down just below the 1,000 SMA, kind of like it did on Friday, and ended up going back up. So definitely have my eyes on it. It's still below some key levels like the 100 SMA right now. So still watching it. Tech, keep in mind, tech and a lot of stocks, they ended up just pulling back a little bit today. So just don't be too worried about it right now. I think over the next week, MU looks pretty solid. On the daily, it's bounced off of this bottom level, this support around 75.50 or 75.70, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You there, Tom? Guys, let us know if the audio cut out. It looks like we're having a small technical difficulty. Let me know in the comments down below. All right, it looks like we lost Tom. All right, well let me just all right, yeah. Looks like we lost Tom. Give me a second, guys. Let's see. Let's move this over. Give me 1 second. Two. All right. Okay, cool. Look, yeah, so we lost Tom. I'm just renewing this. All right, cool. So I'll leave it like this for now. I'll replace Tom. Let me just give me 1 second to invite him back. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. Tom's gonna be in the process of joining back. It looks like his internet went down. So I'll
Hello?
Are you back, Tom?
I'm back.
All
Yes, I'm
right.
Zoom reconnected, and then I had to like reconnect my voice and stuff. But yeah, I am
Uh-oh. Is he going out again?
going down. So
Uh-oh.
it looks like they definitely got hit this morning. I wonder if that's the problem, but it says my connection's unstable. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully it gets better here soon.
All right, we're good to go. All right, thanks, guys. So Tom, what do you think about these bank stocks? They're still rallying up. I know that they had a pretty solid day on Friday, and like look at like Bank of America, like look at that momentum.
Wow, that's actually really solid, Mike. It looks really good off these SMAs as well. I'd love to see it pass above that high of Friday. That's awesome to see, actually. I'm glad to see these things recovering back. And, they've been saying that they have a lot of capital ready just in case like inflation gets bad and, stuff like that. So it seems like banks are in a pretty good position right now. And I'm glad to see them really recover back. Looks like there's a good double bottom on Bank of America down here around the 38.50 support or the $38 support, somewhere really close to that. I really like this move, Mike, out of these banks. And I think that this is bringing the SPY actually up this morning. The SPY is looking really solid. And I'm sure the Dow is also doing decent. Yeah, the Dow is turning green as well. So that's awesome to see. And man, the banks, like you said, are really flying. JP Morgan just went straight up.
You know it. And then we have Russ saying, can you please check on our old friend AMC? Oh gosh, this one's been struggling a lot lately, unfortunately. Yeah, it's down around 4.5% today, sitting right at that $44 support, and it's looking pretty rough.
Yeah, really rough right now. That support at 44, definitely good in the short term. There's that big support around 40 or like $38. And man, if we start to keep falling down, it's not going to be it's not going to be looking good for AMC in the short term. I have a bad feeling a lot of retail investors are starting to get a little worried and maybe sell out of their positions and stuff. I hope not, but hopefully everyone keeps holding it for, just like the ape's sake, like AMC is one of those stocks that everybody loves. Everyone wants to see it do successful, and hopefully it starts to go back up. But I would say though, off the technicals and everything I'm seeing, definitely not good in the short term right now. And personally, I would not be buying it at these levels.
Gotcha. Looks like Disney's creeping up there, which is good to see. With the next comment, let's see. Next comment, we have Corbin saying, how is Roku looking? Let's check it out. ROKU. It is looking not the best. It's down a little bit this morning. Looks like it is making lower highs like on this daily. I don't know if you see that pattern, Tom. Looks like we had highs right around 486. Now we have highs, or we had highs right at like 460. And now it looks like we're forming even lower highs at like 445.
Yeah, definitely. Those lower highs are not looking good in the short term. They do have a decent support, I'd say, right at $400, which we just hit off of a couple days ago. But we might come down and retest that because this movement this morning, definitely not good. It initially popped, but now we're just seeing a pretty big sell-off. And it looks like we went right up, like you said, to that 445 resistance. So definitely watch for it to maybe continue selling off today. That's definitely a bad bounce off of that level.
All right. With the next comment, let's see. We have Jorge saying CRWD, DDOG, and NET ended up going negative. That's not good to see. They had so much momentum earlier in the morning.
Yeah, they did. And that momentum down is not good. I was really hoping that CrowdStrike and those stocks would start to go back up. They were around all-time highs, or it looks like they actually, let's go back to the 15-minute. Did they hit all-time highs? Yeah, looks like they barely hit all-time highs this morning, right around that 270 area. Man, definitely not a good move. Hopefully you can get a move later in the week whenever Biden and Merkel start to talk about those cybersecurity stocks. And I think that would be a big deal. Like if they start to mention like Datadog or CrowdStrike, I think that would be a pretty big thing.
All right. I'm doing like a million things at once here. Give me 1 second. So yeah, bank stock's still looking good. Starbucks is looking good. Tom, I think we're in the early stages of the next rotation. Tech stocks, they're not crashing or anything, but Apple's down a good amount. Nvidia is down. Actually, they're up a little bit, but they're coming down. While at the same time, we're seeing bank stocks rally. We're seeing some of the value stocks rally, like Starbucks. Disney's rallying. So I think we're in the very, very early stages of the next rotation. Some of the top stocks I'm looking at are Disney. Bank stocks are on my radar. PENN. Let me check that one out. Penn's looking all right. Boeing is a potential one. Looks good. And then airlines. But the airlines are more of a speculative play.
Yeah, the airlines, I think those are going to be pretty risky, but they might be one of the better rewarded setups if you end up holding them for a couple of years. They're definitely going to have a lot of up and downs a lot of up and down movement. But I think it looks solid right now, especially off of this 200 SMA. it looks pretty decent. And we are like right at support around like $23, $24. So looks pretty solid, I'd say. For the longer term. In the shorter term, anything can continue to go on, especially with these with this new like Delta variant coming out. I know like by me, they're talking about like doing masks and stuff again. And if that starts to make like travel stocks get hurt, then that would be bad for the short term. And maybe that's why travel stocks have been going down, because there's a little fear of something like this happening. But I will say though that for the longer term, I think it's really good still. And I could see like CCL getting back up there, especially like next year, whenever the cruises can start to get going. And like AAL, for example, I think that they'll start to go up over the next couple of years as well, possibly back up to those like pre-COVID high areas around $30.
All right. And then let's see, we have Ferdinando saying, why did SPCE drop? So there's a lot of factors. One would be just it's like a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event, but also too that offering is huge. Basically, stock offerings, it raises a lot of funds for the company itself, which is good for the long term, but for the short term, it's bad because it adds more selling pressure to the stock and it just dilutes shares, and it's just not a good sign. So those are the two main reasons. And then, it was also halted, which doesn't help it. So that's just a little recap. We have Basil saying, thoughts on CLOV. So this one's been looking not bad over the past couple months. It has been bleeding a lot over like the past couple weeks. So if you're not already in it, I think it's all right for a dip buy. For the long term, I'm just neutral on it. I'm not bearish. I'm not necessarily bullish either. I like other companies more. On a technical level, it's coming right back down to that huge support right at $8.
Yeah, it is. It's getting really close to that. Personally, I'm more bearish on it, but I just don't like this stock for some reason. I don't know. I don't like the setup. I don't like the daily look at it at all. I think it was just more of like I'm not going to say like a pump and dump, but it's definitely, I don't think like one of those stocks that people thought it was. I think for that short time, it was a really possibly like a good trade, but right now I don't like it. If it does bounce off of that $8 support though, I think that could be a good, possibly a good level if it does end up hitting that and then moving right up off of that.
All right, with the next comment, let's see. Next comment, we have Sean saying, wow, Peloton went straight back to its old resistance line from last month. Wonder why. Yeah, so it looks like it went right back to that support. I'm trying to see if there's any major news on it. My first thought would just be like the rotation, the slow rotation out of some of these tech stocks and into some of the value stocks, like you could say Disney, GE, Starbucks, Boeing, maybe the airlines. We can see banks are running up though too.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Starbucks honestly looks really solid. Like on the daily, Starbucks looks like one of the better setups, and they're getting up to all-time highs. And this has been a big runner over the past couple of weeks, just green day after green day after green day with this one.
Yeah, true that. I mean, it is a powerhouse. Oh, this is what I meant to look at the other day. So Target, Tom, this stock is exploding. It's up almost every day, and it just keeps rallying and rallying and rallying. And when you look at it on a max weekly chart, this thing looks so overextended where I'm looking for some like maybe some call credit spreads on it, or maybe even like a short position on the stock. Like, it's just a thought. I really don't like to like short stocks because sometimes it can be pretty brutal, but I just can't believe the movement on this one.
Me either. And you know what's weird is that they're kind of like a direct competitor to like Walmart, which I figured Walmart's been doing pretty good as well. But man, like they're really outperforming Walmart, at least on their stock. And that's a huge thing to see right now, I think. And, Target's like earnings even are looking solid. Their EPS looks really good on these earnings down here at the bottom. I think it's a solid company. Like you said, though, definitely really getting overextended on that max weekly or the max daily, even going back to like 2016. This thing is just skyrocketed to the upside. There's been no stopping it. Like ever since 2020, there's been almost no downwards movement on this stock. And it's just, like you said, just every day continuing to break new highs. And it's not like a huge mover. Like we don't see huge like days, like huge 10% days or nothing, but just solid like 1% days every single day, just to the upside. And definitely a good stock, I think, like for calls. But like you said, Mike, it's right at this $250 area too. And who knows, like it could be getting really close to a big resistance soon.
True that. And then we have someone saying Tesla and DraftKings looks pretty good. Yeah, Tesla's a powerhouse. DraftKings is getting smacked this morning, which kind of sucks.
Yeah,
um,
that's actually weird. Like with the McGregor fight, I kind of would have thought that that might have helped like DraftKings and some of these other stocks. Maybe it will on their next earnings, but DraftKings in the short term definitely didn't get helped by that at all. And my main reasoning is because everybody loves McGregor and they love to bet on him and stuff. So I didn't know. I just figured that a lot of these betting companies would make a lot of money off of that, but I guess at the same time they don't have to necessarily report any of that, so there's not going to be any they might just not have any good news about it.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like a run up, like maybe like for the next earnings release or something like that. Because I remember like even with DraftKings, it had like a lot of hype going into like March Madness, and it just kind of tanked off pretty bad. So I'm not really not worried about it. I love them for the long term, but no one likes to see red days on a stock you like for the long term. Then we have Slick saying, just walked in the room. What's up, Mike and Tom? Shout out Hunter. You know the vibes. Welcome to the stream, Slick. Thanks for joining in. Let's see what else we have moving in the market. Guys, if you guys are watching any stocks, let us know in the comments and we'll definitely cover them. But for today, it looks like the main one that's really moving and that has momentum, in my opinion, is Tesla.
Tesla, let's go check it out. It's TSLA really moving, like you said, Mike. And on the daily, looks so strong. We're getting back up to that $700 resistance level, it seems like. In the short term, there was a little bit of resistance actually right where we're getting up to around like 682, 683. So definitely look out for that today. But this is really starting to rocket to the upside. I think it's funny that this is going up and SPCE is going down. I think that's kind of funny because Elon Musk even bought a ticket and everything. And SPCE had that offering, of course, but it's just awesome to see. Tesla's been one of those powerhouse stocks. It's definitely gotten beaten down over the past few months, and definitely glad to see it recovering up. And hopefully this can kind of bring the EV sector back. We're even seeing like NIO down a lot over the past few months, and like we just need to see, I think, a solid recovery out of that whole entire sector. And Tesla's going to be one of the big ones with that. And I love it that their truck's coming out later this year and everything. So hopefully that really drives them up later on.
All right, let's see what else. Looks like, yeah, Tesla's the main one. mRNA is still going. They're such a powerhouse, up over 2% today. FDX looks like it's moving a good amount. Bank of America, JP Morgan. So looking good. So far, the market is actually breaking new highs. So the SPY broke new highs today, and it looks like we're sitting right at those levels right now.
Yeah, look at that. On the daily, the SPY is even starting to get a little overextended on the daily, Mike. Like this is starting to look like Target's chart almost on the daily with the SPY. And the SPY generally does go up, but yeah, it's definitely getting a little overextended to me. I'm glad to see it breaking this high though, solidly. It's been a long time since we've seen the SPY just straight up break out. Like it generally has a lot of slow moves, and I'm just glad to see it actually moving up to all-time highs. And for a while the QQQ was the talk of the market, but like you said, with this rotation kind of going on, I think it's going to kind of get back into the SPY and the Dow once again.
You know it. And we have Basil saying we need CCIV to follow Tesla. That'd be awesome. Hopefully it does. Tesla has that momentum, but CCIV, it's not tanking, but it's slowly moving up, which is good at least. They're trending in the right direction.
Yeah, the 1 minute's looking solid. It's up on some of these SMAs also. It actually touched the 1,000 on Friday right before close and bounced up off of that. So I like to see stuff like that with these types of stocks. And man, I really like Lucid Motors and I love CCIV. Not that I love their fundamentals or I love their company per se. I love the way the cars look. If I had a choice and it had the same technology as Tesla inside and I saw both of them sitting right next to each other, I would pick the Lucid Motors all day long. And I think that they just look a lot sportier and stuff. The new Tesla Roadsters are going to look really cool though. Those are awesome, but Lucid, they have some really cool looking cars. And I think for the long term, they could end up doing pretty well as long as their fundamentals can kind of, get up to par. I think that's going to be the main thing is, can we see those fundamentals kind of, get up there? Can they actually start to get selling? That's going to be the big thing. Once we start to see those types of numbers, Lucid will obviously explode, but who knows how long that's going to take. It took Tesla quite a long time.
You know it. And then let's see. Hunter saying Neo going down to when Tesla's going up, which is the opposite of what was happening for weeks. Yeah, it's definitely a good observation. Neo's definitely been tanking, and I love him for the long term, but it's good to see Tesla rebound too. Neo's great for selling puts, Hunter. I know you already know that, but the IV is relatively high, and especially when it has those like downtrends, you can get some really, really good deals when you sell puts.
Yeah, you can for sure. And man, like from the lows of a couple weeks ago, NIO rose up 80%. That's pretty crazy, actually. Like whenever that we had this bottom on NIO down here around $30, we're sitting at 44 now. That's actually a pretty big move. And I would say NIO looks pretty solid. It's sitting on the 200 SMA and stuff. Like Hunter said, that's weird to see them kind of going down today whenever Tesla's flying up, but I guess that happens sometimes.
You know it. And then let's see with the next comment. We have Bro saying mRNA recovered this morning from the open. I'm holding calls for August 240 strike. Yeah, I mean it looks good, and we're getting pretty close to that 240 strike. I hope it keeps rallying for you because the momentum's awesome, and looks like you got some time. So I really, really hope it keeps rallying, and the momentum's definitely there.
Yeah, definitely. And these it has like this vaccine news too. And if they end up getting like approved for like one of those Delta variants or something, that could easily push them up to all-time highs. And I would say it looks very solid.
Good stuff. And then I'm just doing like a couple things at once, Tom. Apple's tanking. How the Tom? Give us a little rundown on the markets. I know Apple's pulling back. The SPY's close to its all-time highs. What's going on?
Yeah, Apple's pulling back. Hopefully it can have this low of day down here at 144 to actually extend it down, hit that, ended up bouncing up off of that. I would say though, it looks pretty bearish for today. Definitely not a good sign so far. I don't see it hitting 146 or anything like that later on. Definitely not looking good below this 1000. Microsoft, like you said, same thing, pulling down. They're kind of consolidating at their support as well around 277. Seems like we have a lot of these stocks pulling back to support today. I wonder if we can break that and continue down. But man, the SPY, like you said, still rocketing up all-time highs again. I think bank stocks have a huge factor right now on the SPY and on the Dow. I think that's going to really help, the markets kind of get back up if the banks can still keep going. And, like we're seeing, the SPY really looking good, JP Morgan looking good. I just love to see this. Banks do have earnings though tomorrow. Actually, JP Morgan has earnings tomorrow before open. Let me know in the chat how you guys think banks are going to do. If you guys are working the banking sector or anything, without getting yourselves in trouble, try to let me know like how you think the banking sector is doing right now and stuff like that. For sure, I think it would be pretty interesting to hear. So let us know in the comments. But these banks have really been doing well over the past like couple days, and I think that we could start to see JP Morgan recover up pretty safely up to $160. As as long as the earnings go good tomorrow.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean they're running pretty good, and a lot of them are in great financial positions. I don't know if you remember the stress test or not from the other week, but all these bank stocks easily passed it, and it shows that they're in a good position. And even with like the way rates are moving, like I know if rates continue to rise, and like if inflation does end up being higher than expected, that should help bank stocks. So right now, it just looks like they're in a good position overall. I just think the big question is this like already priced in? You know what I mean? Because like the stress test already happened, and I know we are seeing a run up before earnings, but I'm just curious to see how they'll do.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's definitely an interesting situation here. And whenever you look at the daily, like those banks were really starting to come down in the short term there. I don't know if that was just people taking profits or institutions selling out or what was going on there, or if that was part of the inflation fears going on at the time, possibly. I think that was during that time, right before that FOMC meeting. But either way, definitely looking weird for the banks, and hopefully some bad inflation news doesn't come out again or something like that. And like you said, these earnings are going to be very, very interesting later this week. And I'm really curious to see. We've been seeing these companies' trading divisions doing very well, specifically Goldman Sachs. And I'm wondering how well they're going to have done over the past quarter. Because, like we've been seeing Goldman, like look at these earnings down here, $12 per share, $18 per share. And that was due in a lot of part to their trading division, making a ton of money, selling the stock market, buying stocks, taking up a ton of different positions. These guys, they hire some of the best traders in the world to manage this money. And they've been doing really good with it. And I'm really curious to see how they did over the past few months. And with the markets going up to highs again, I would think that they did pretty well.
You know it. So, Tom, I know that we're in a pretty interesting market environment right now. Are there any like top stocks you're watching for the rest of the day, or any catalysts or anything?
Yeah, one of the stocks I'm still kind of looking at for like the next like couple of weeks for sure is definitely the airlines and Boeing. I think that there's going to be a lot of we're either going to see a big bounce here off of some of these airline supports like AAL around $20, for example. Some of these other stocks are around support as well. I think we're either going to see a pretty big move back to the upside, or we're going to see something bad come out with the Delta variant or something weird over the wintertime, and we'll see these stocks end up going down again pretty significantly. But I think that we're going to see a pretty big move soon, one way or the other, and we'll start to get volatile again with some of these stocks. And like you said, there's always that rotation going on. But I think that some people might start to come back into some of these stocks, maybe to end the year, something like that. If the variant gets worse, then like I said, that could definitely cause some problems. But I really like the airlines over the next couple of weeks. Like we said, banks are going to be very interesting to see what ends up going on in that sector. I've also been interested in these semiconductor stocks. Like we've been seeing Nvidia obviously at all-time highs, but I'm more interested in the other ones like AMD. I'm interested to see how they're going to move. They hit this big resistance around 95. MU has had like a triple bottom down here around $75, $76. So I'm very interested to see how these stocks are moving. Qualcomm, even they're starting to actually catch some green, which is actually pretty good. So I'm very interested in these semiconductors, and there's that semiconductor shortage going on and everything. And I just feel like that these companies are going to start making a lot of money pretty soon, and it'll be pretty good. And, while Nvidia is at all-time highs, keep in mind that a lot of that has to do with the split stuff. I would think that the overall semiconductor market was doing very solid. I think we would see AMD at all-time highs too, which we might see soon.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining in on today's stream. We had a great stream today, a lot of great questions, a lot of good times. So thank you so much for joining, and we hope you have an amazing rest of your day.